This video presentation is used as fair use as a disclaimer for educational purpose only. All instrumental music is used as fair use for educational purpose only as a disclaimer.
Well, we're back and we're talking about whether reparations make sense or whether they don't. Who's got a comment? Yes, over here.
I think today I've heard some very disheartening and dangerous statements. I think we have to be careful in what traumas happen to our family, not to let them affect our worldview, right? Because my brother-in-law was killed by the police, which was founded to help capture enslaved people or newly freed people. So we have to make sure we have all the facts on what's going on. Or to say that we don't still feel the effects of what happened 150 years ago. I don't know Patrice, but I know my great-grandmother was a slave. And I know that the reason I feel sort of way when I get pulled over is because of what happened to the newly freed people. And I know that reparations is equal to accountability, which our country fails to do, right? Right now, we're talking about modern-day book burning by whitewashing history. We don't want to teach people that look like me what really happened to our ancestors. And I think that's equally dangerous. And I think that it's incumbent upon all of us to know what America came from, right? There's a reason we don't do the third stanza of the Star-Spangled Banner, because it references something we don't want to take accountability from, where reparations starts that conversation. Maybe it's not a payment, maybe it's education, maybe it's taxes, but first on is owning our history, which we don't want to do.
Yeah. Okay, who else has got it?
Black power. Black power to the people. Black power to all African people around the planet. If this is your first time encountering this channel, please go ahead and share this video, like this video. Please come in subscribing to the channel family. Hit that notification bell at the bottom down there so you always be in the crosshairs when I drop one of these videos. I black at y'all with another one, another hot video. You feel me? I'm hitting y'all with this real live dialogue tonight. Y'all got to hear this dialogue. Y'all got to hear my perspective. You know, when you talk about reparations, you know, people act funny. When you speak on reparations, people seem to show their true selves or who they really are as a people. We talked about repairing and restoring the damages that were caused against Black people 400 years ago. People always say those people who committed those atrocities are not here today. Institutions that are in power today are being ran today by the descendants of slave owners. Wall Street owes Black people. The first people that were sold as a commodity in this world was sold on the auction block in New York, Wall Street. You can't get away from it. The very richest that America has amassed over the centuries was due to the slave trade. All the major inventions that we have today was because of Africans who invented these inventions and never got paid one red cent, went to the grave broke. What are you talking about? Reparations. Look at the psychological damage that's been done to Black people over the years and years and years of being brainwashed under the institution of slavery. So somewhere around the 18th, last week sometimes, I didn't know Dr. Phil had a subject based on reparations. And what he said about reparations let me know the mindset of the majority of white people in power don't want to relinquish that fake ass money, the dollar, and give us what they owe us. Now that the dollar is about to hit its lows, we don't want cash. We want gold. We want gold, and we know you don't have gold. You don't have the money to pay us. You're right. Because your money is about to be relinquished to nothing. But that's off the subject. Then when I had a discussion about reparations, kick some checks down. Quit talking about it. You know what you owe us. Dr. Phil said reparations would be an absolute disaster for black people. He tried to clean it up and say for any people. So you trying to tell me the Japanese, it was disaster for the Japanese to get reparations? We know the Japanese was paid reparations by this country for bombing their country, Japan. You mean to tell me Switzerland doesn't give the Jews reparations? The reparations package, Israel don't get money from America every year. The slave masters got paid reparations for losing their property during uprisings, African uprisings. The banks of America paid reparations or some type of insurance to slave masters who lost property during slavery. The government of America also paid slave masters money for losing their property during the so-called Civil War. When one white people went invaded another white land, which was the South, the North invaded the South, all the property that was destroyed during the Civil War, every slave master was paid reparations. So you mean to tell me, Dr. Phil, who are you to be the spokesman for black people? Then they had this Bob Woodson, looked like a maggot. Bob Woodson, somebody looked like us, civil rights so-called leader, a civil rights activist. This brother about 80 years old, on Dr. Phil, telling absolute backwards information. He tried to say that 3,700 black people were freed and 12,000 of these 3,700 was in slavery to black people. Black people had slaves. Tell the truth. Those black so-called Indians, since everybody want to be an Indian, the Mongoloid Cherokee, the Seminoles, they look black because they mix with black people. Indians, the people want to be enslaved black people. Check it out. So they trying to blame it on the African that we had slaves in this country. Then the fool go on to say, Bob Woodson, once y'all check this old dude out, I'm going to show y'all the clip of what this Negro had to say. They always got one of these Negroes, like a Kansas Owens, or Herschel Walker, Tim Scott, airhead black folk who go against their own kind. So you know they retarded. You cannot find an animal in the wild that side with other animals to go against the kingdom, its kingdom. You never see a lion take sides with a cheetah against his fellow lion. You never see that in the wild. But black people, for some apparent reason, and this is why we need reparations. And this guy said he's a psychologist, Dr. Phil, but it'd be absolute disaster to restore and repair and put us back on the economic platform. Because when they found Africans was doing their thing. We wasn't no broke people. We was robbed by the same people who don't want to give our shit back. They owe us. What are you talking about? You can't get out of it. You talk about those people not alive today? Yes, you benefited. White America is strong because of the backs of black people. Look at the institutions, the banks. They all had their hand. They all had their hand in the cookie jar and benefited from slavery. You can't get out of it. Everywhere you look, there's a crook that inherited financial gain, financial money, well financially equipped, well financially secure from being a people who were descended from slave masters. These schools, these top universities, to build some of these schools that you got to pay to go to, black people. The monies built these institutions. Slavery, blood money, built these institutions. I don't know what Dr. Phil talking about in Bob Woodson, this so-called civil rights activist. He said he don't support reparations. This dude said there was 3,700 free blacks, and blacks owned 12,000 black slaves. Blacks really benefited more the first 100 years after slavery than we have in the last 50 years. These are the kind of Negroes that they put on TV. But I get Dr. Phil credit because he had some people on his show that had real live intelligence that were black, that was defeating the misinformed information that was being, spoken on. The sister Ashame Mafuko, she had a Swahili name, Mafuko. She was hitting them. She was hitting them at the neck. She chopped them up. And then the brother came on there. They had a brother from a satellite, right? Joined the show. He calls for a $14 trillion handout, $350,000 for each of the 40 million whose ancestors were slaves. You feel what I'm saying? They had an economic professor. Matter of fact, he was a Duke University economic professor, William Darity. This brother, he laid the groundwork on the show. He gave the history and everything. But then there was another sister on there who benefited from reparations from her slave master. Her great-grandmother, father was a slave master, and the slave master left her property. And this sister talking about they benefited from reparations. She for reparations. You feel what I'm saying? Let me show y'all the clip. Yeah, black family. This part of this clip where a sister named Patrice benefited from reparations. Like I said before, the slave master that was over her great-great-grandmother, her great-grandmother's father, the slave master, left them land, and this is how they benefited. Check.
Well, Patrice has been hearing stories about her ancestors since she was 4 years old, and did her own digging into her DNA. She says while her great-great-grandmother Florence was a black woman born into slavery, Florence's grandfather and Patrice's great-great-great-great-grandfather was a white slave owner. However, Florence received 40 acres of land from her slave owner father, which completely changed the life of her descendants for the better. And that is why Patrice says she believes reparations are absolutely necessary.
I have very strong feelings when it comes to reparations because my family received a form of reparations. My great-great-grandmother Florence was born 6 months before the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. She was an enslaved baby. Florence's father was Ephraim Peyton Jr. Ephraim Peyton was a white slave owner. This is the 1880 census, and it shows my great-great-grandmother Florence listed here under her father's household, and she is a servant in his household, and she was his daughter also. I believe Florence must have had a good relationship with her father, because when it came time for her to marry, he helped them buy 40 acres of land in Hazelhurst, Mississippi. My family got reparations from my great-great-great-grandfather, Ephraim Peyton Jr. This property has been passed down, and it has remained in my family for over 4 generations. With the funds that they amassed with the cotton farm, now the land is currently 116 acres. The property now has 4 houses on it. This is the house after we gutted it. These houses were built by my ancestors. The land is absolutely beautiful. It is full of trails that go through the forest. There are 2 ponds. The land that we've inherited has kept my family together through generations, which is not typical for a lot of Black American families. Without this property, my family wouldn't have had a leg to stand on. They wouldn't have been able to get an education. I'm a 4th generation college-educated Black American descendant of slavery. Because of this land, my family was able to use the funds to...
You see, land is money. Land is money. This is reparations. This is reparations right here. This is a form of reparations right here. You feel what I'm saying? So this sister right here, I'm glad I seen this story. This sister right here explains the importance of having land. If you have no land, you have no revolution. And that's what the revolution is for. We need land as Black people. You feel what I'm saying? Peep what this sister say, though.
Start business. Educated Black American descendant of slavery. Because of this land, my family was able to use the funds to start businesses, buy homes. My grandmother, Dr. Geneva Handy Southall, was the first Black woman to get a PhD in piano performance. She was able to get that kind of education because we got reparations.
Black family, just listen to Dr. Phil speak. It's evident that Dr. Phil knows that damages have been done to Black people. They acknowledge this. If you listen to him speak, they acknowledge the wrongdoings that were hampered up on Black people. They know the story. If you listen to these people talk, but they can't come to the conclusion of having any kind of empathy to pay Black people what they owe us. White people are the enemy of Black people. The majority of these people. I want you to listen to Dr. Phil answer his own question as it relates to our people. You are telling the truth, Dr. Phil. America has not paid Black people what they owe. Cut them checks. Cut them checks. And I want y'all to listen to the next guest Dr. Phil has on this show. I'm glad I saw this clip. Let's proceed. Let's proceed with this.
In 1860, over $3 billion was the value assigned to the physical bodies of enslaved Black Americans to be used as free labor in production. That's billion with a B. Now, some of today's guests say the United States has yet to compensate descendants of enslaved Black Americans for the loss of income that has caused racial wealth disparity for generations. Now, my next guest says Black Americans should not be awarded reparations because the issue is fraught with complications and questions.
Here's another white man. This is how white people feel. And this is how people get down when you talk about reparations. This is how white people think. They don't care nothing about Black people or what we went through as a people. They don't care nothing about us. This is why we dying in jails. There's a state of emergency right now in America right now where Black people are dying. If you get incarcerated, you might not come back home as a Black person. And this is what's going on right now. And they talking about not paying us? Cut them checks.
My fifth great grandfather, Orson Smith Murray, was an abolitionist from the 1830s and until after the Civil War. He was known to have said that slavery was the struggle of the hour at the time. That was the big issue in our country. Learning about my fifth great grandfather also kept my interest in social and political issues. When it comes to reparations for American slavery, I think morally it may be a good idea, but practically it's not. Reparations for slavery were a good thing 150 years ago. I think today they're not being used in any sort of good way. It's not well thought out. Who's going to pay for it? It's going to be future taxpayers. If you really wanted to help the Black community, you wouldn't just want to write checks to the Black community. You'd want to solve the problems with absent fatherhood or the broken education system in those communities.
This is what I'm talking about. When you're talking about fully paying Black people reparations, repairing the damages that have been allocated against our people. You can never repair the damages, but reparations, monies, you could get a psychologist. Because we got to unravel all the misinformed and demonic education that was instilled in our people during slavery. This is why Black people today, and I'm going to go back to the institution of slavery, and I'm going to bet all my earnings that the reasons that we are in conditions that we are in today because our psychological education. We was transferred mentally to think against self. And this segment, I'm going to show you how some Black people are just maggots for the system. Just maggots. It looks like they eat pure shit when you got Black people who speak against its own people. This white guy right here, he's a racist. Bona fide racist. You feel what I'm saying? Let's proceed.
I've never seen a plan put down that would work rationally, ethically, or morally.
I'd like to now introduce political writer and consultant Joshua Ferguson and also Alex Gruenfelder, who ran for Los Angeles mayor this past year. While he didn't make it past the primaries, he has now joined Karen Bast's team as the head of her youth engagement department. So welcome to both of you. Appreciate you joining the conversation. Joshua, let me start with you. You say that this is a really complicated issue and that trying to do this now.
How is it complicated? How is it complicated? They cut checks every day. They send money to Ukraine, Afghanistan. How is this complicated? It's only complicated because you're talking about compensating black people. It's complicated because you're talking about restoring, compensating. It's complicated because you're compensating black people. You feel what I'm saying?
It's just fraught with so many problems that it's undoable.
Yes. You have to define terms that people don't want to define. What does it mean to be black? What do we mean by reparations? What will it be used for? To find out who would qualify would almost put us into it.
Joshua Ferguson. Joshua Ferguson. Who is he to speak for black people? See, this is a setup when you see shows like this. When you see shows like this. You feel what I'm saying? This is a setup. But I can see right through it. This is set up to further brainwash the majority of population who watch these TV shows, who can't think for themselves. But I'm going to analyze this. I'm going to break this down. I'm going to give you my final analysis. I'm going to break this down. This is Underground Warrior TV, man. Make sure y'all mash up the likes, share this video. We going in tonight. We going in on these fools tonight. Black power.
The dystopia of classes against each other, trying to divide us up as opposed to trying to unite us with any sort of goal. So I think there are more complications and problems than there are solutions.
Do you say it shouldn't be done because it's too complex to come up with an answer, or because there has been inequities that are still having an effect? You just don't know how to level the playing field? What's your...
You can't level playing fields. That never works in human history. The big problem is that when you look at a situation that's as long as it is, I mean, as people talk about it, they talk about the United States' history of slavery. There was slavery in what is now the United States longer than we've been a country. It's like 260 years of slavery under Spanish rule in Florida, 230 years of America. How do you blame America for things that predate America? I mean, we have these problems where you have to define what does it mean to be black. You know, doing my own.
See, they take you through all these mazes and different subjects, and they want to get away from the initial situation. They won't take you through these complicated mazes when you start talking about reparations. This is the mind of white folks. This is the mind of the common white folk. You feel what I'm saying? I'm not even going to show no more clips of this particular fool right here because we already know what he talking about. Let's proceed with this video, man. Let's proceed with this video. Make sure y'all mash the likes, share this video. Share this video. Black fam, make sure y'all mash up the likes, share this video. I'm about to go in on these Neanderthals. Check this out right here. You know, where some of the politicians, I'm going to show you how racist this institution, America, really is. These are the people who make policies on Capitol Hill. And this is why they feel that we don't need reparations. See, when it comes to black people, we got to stand up for ourselves. We see that these Neanderthals, it's not in the best interest of black people moving forward in this world, moving forward in this country. You feel what I'm saying? Let's get right off into this.
Critics who say, why should I pay reparations for something I did not do? Take a look.
A lot of people just don't know what you're talking about when you use a word like reparations.
The concept of reparations dates back to just after the Civil War, when the federal government initially promised, but never delivered, 40 acres and a mule to former slaves.
What we're really talking about is addressing past specific economic harms, addressing the challenges we have today.
Top Republicans oppose Booker's idea.
I don't think reparations for something that happened 150 years ago for whom none of us currently living are responsible is it.
Listen to this racist right here. This is a real live racist, bitch McConnell. You can't talk to an alpha black man face to face and tell me that you don't think that this country should pay reparations for something that happened 150 years ago. Look at the institutions you have achieved. Look at the mass wealth you have around this country due to slavery. You paid everybody else reparations. But when it comes to black, you know what I'm saying, black people, this is how they talk. You know, arrogant. You know, you can't talk to me like that. So, you know, they got the right puppet masters and the right black people around them. I would clown this fool. I don't give a fuck who he connected to. You can't talk to me like that. This is how he talk to black people. You feel what I'm saying? This is how bitch McConnell talk to black people. You know what I'm saying? Looking like a motherfucking rooster in the motherfucking face. Look at this motherfucker. You know, this motherfucking caveman. Who the hell he talking to?
We have today.
Top Republicans oppose Booker's idea.
I don't think reparations for something that happened 150 years ago for whom none of us currently living are responsible is a good idea. We've elected an African-American president.
We've tried.
You elected a black American president just because that is symbolic. That ain't no substance. Y'all had a Negro who bowed down to the wishes of white supremacy and killed Muammar Gaddafi for white supremacy. Obama did nothing in office for black people. Talking about they hired a African American, they elected an African American president. That's the best reparations they gonna give a nigga. You can't talk to me like that. You can't talk to no street man like that. You can't talk to no alpha black man like that. Bitch McConnell. Bitch McConnell. You feel what I'm saying?
I don't think reparations for something that happened 150 years ago for whom none of us currently living are responsible is a good idea. We've elected an African-American president.
We've tried to overcome all of our mistakes with the American Indian, you name it. Without a purpose.
Listen to Lindsey Graham. These are the races that you Negroes elect. These are the races that white people elect. This is what goes on in American government. And I be having Negroes telling me that all you got to do is vote. Who am I voting for? I'm voting for a Klansman who says that they're not in the best interest economically, socially, politically, psychologically for your people, for my people. These people are against my people speaking in this manner. Fuck the government. Fuck this government. You feel what I'm saying? I don't like white supremacy. The government is ran by white supremacy. Fuck this government. And we got to unhook from this bitch ass government. Well, we don't want to do that though. We so in love with our slave masters, our tormentors. You feel me?
The country, but we're trying to form a more perfect union, and I don't think this helps.
It's not a Republican or Democratic issue. It is an issue that African Americans remain the only population that can trace its history to bondage.
Facts.
Chattel.
Facts. Facts. Them are facts. Sheila Roberts, representative, she is probably ousted by now for speaking like that. You feel they oust them type of people when they speak the truth. Look at these white folks' faces. These are white people who's not in the best interest of black people. And y'all run around here kissing white folks' ass. Y'all run around here kissing white folks' ass. Y'all run around here kissing white folks' ass.
Slavery was reprehensible. It's indefensible. But reparations presents a whole different issue.
It is clearly an opportunity for America to enter into a constructive dialogue, open dialogue, about the impact of slavery and racism.
Hey, fam, this next guest that Dr. Phil's about to introduce, I want you to listen to his scenario and this education when he speaks about why black people shouldn't get reparations. Now, this is a brother, but he's one of those kind of brothers. See, when I see people like this in prominent positions, you know, a lot of black people, you know, they want to give these people props because the white man has put these flunkies in position. He's one of those type Negroes. See, I got a different mindset. Just because you have a vast vocabulary and you speak real well and you are in position in the public's eye as the white man put you in position. You're there for a reason. You're a token. You're there to disrupt any type of prosperity coming to black people. So when I see these kind of people speak the way they speak, just like black people say they're not African, they're Indian, I look at those people as something's wrong psychologically. You may have all the book smart, you might have all the curriculum when it comes to vocabulary, but you don't have common sense. You never see any animals in the wild take sides against its own species. Only black people will agree with their own tormentors. Only black people will coincide with white supremacy to kill off its own people on all levels. Now I understand, how did the black man and the black woman get in this position in the first place? Self-hatred is retardation. There should be a prognosis, and it should be a prognosis with a label when you see black people going against black people for the benefit of other people. We the only species. We the only people. Something's wrong with that picture. So when this particular Negro speak right here, when this particular nigga speak right here, he's giving misinformed information. I just want the listeners and people who watch my videos don't get tranquilized by what this Negro talking about. This is a counter-revolutionary right here that's about to come speak. And I can't stand Negroes who go against our people, man. That despises me. That's a sickness. A traitor is like worse than a child molester. A traitor is worse than a snitch. A traitor is worse than a raper. You feel what I'm saying?
I'd like to introduce civil rights activist Bob Woodson. He is the author of Red, White, and Black, Rescuing American History from Revisionists and Race Hustlers, and also Lessons.
Now, you know that Negro got a book out called Race Hustlers. He talking about brothers and sisters who speak out against white supremacy of this country. He called us race hustlers. So when you have a Negro coming out with a book like that, he's protecting white supremacy. This Negro right here protects white supremacy.
From the least of these. Bob, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for being here. You say you don't support reparations. Why not?
Not everybody suffered equally. I mean, when you go into slavery,
nobody suffered equally. I want y'all to listen to this dude's psychology. These are the niggas who be in position. These be these black Mason niggas. These be the niggas that know what's going on. These black Masonic fraternity niggas. These niggas know what's going on. These skull and bone ass, step and fetch it niggas. See, when you come on this channel, I'm giving you the truth. I'm giving you the truth. Uncut, raw truth. Put my life on the line telling you about these black Mason niggas. Look at this nigga, man. You know this nigga right here programmed by a devil. This is a black devil that you're looking at right here. He against the rise of black people. You feel what I'm saying? This is a Clarence Thomas type nigga.
It's much more complex than all white people were the oppressors and black people were the victims. If you dissect it, you will find there were about 3,700 free blacks who owned 12,000 slaves.
See, when he's talking about blacks that own slaves, he's talking about that so-called Aboriginal Indian Mongoloid that these Negroes want to be. And I'm going to touch on that because same way with the Arabs in the Middle East were the first people to enslave black people. So then you have black people who participated in the slave trade with the British. The Arabs were seen as black people, counted with the small fraction of black people who participated in the slave trade. Like in this country, the dumb Negro in this country that call himself the FBA or he's a Mongoloid or he's an Indian. When the Indian from Asia 16,000 years ago visited America and came to America, Africans was already here. True indeed. We're not arguing with that. But when no Mongoloids got to America 16,000 years ago, the Africans have been in America, visited America like 2050 BC. Maritime skills by the Africans was used on boats. We built boats. Africans are unique. We got to this country way before the Mongoloid. When the Mongoloid got here, we made it with their women. They women became dark skinned. You became dark skinned. That's just an ancient time. When Africans escaped from the slave trade, off the slave plantation, they banned with the Mongoloids. The Mongoloids and Africans had sex. So the Indians became what? The Mongoloid became what? Black. You feel what I'm saying? So the Indians participated in the slave trade. You can look up, you can Wikipedia the Cherokee. And all kind of Indians participated in the slave trade. Quit trying to say Africans own slaves in this country. I'm tired of that narration. Trying to make excuse for white abuse. This is what this Negro is trying to do. Make excuse for white abuse. Can I say it one more time? Make excuse for white abuse. This is a maggot. This is a maggot right here. This is a motherfucker right here will eat shit of the white man. Eat the white man's shit for a little bit of money. He eats shit. This is the maggot of a sellout. This is them Negroes who say they Masons. And when they say they Masons, they say they down with skull and bones. They do with anything. Anything. They do anything to stay in between justice and freedom and equality for black people. Let's proceed. And I want y'all to check out this maggot. Check what this maggot say. Check what this maggot say.
Black slaves. The question is, do the descendants of those free blacks who owned black slaves, do they pay? Blacks really benefited more the first 100 years after slavery we have in the last 50 years. I was born in...
And you hear this shit. Do you hear this shit? I don't mean to interrupt this shit, but I want y'all to listen to the mind of some of these Negroes who take that. I'm not even going to cut. I'm done. I'm just going to let y'all listen to this Negro. I get upset when I hear this. This is the space cadet. These are the Negroes that's in that White House. These are the black carcass type niggas. When you fuck with the black Masons, some of these Negroes, they're not all black Masons, but majority of the black Masons are space cadets. They're against us. They space cadets. They mean they black in appearance, but white to the motherfucking core.
1,700 free blacks.
Come on, listen to this.
You say you don't support reparations. Why not?
Not everybody suffered equally. I mean, when you go into slavery, It's much more complex than all white people were the oppressors and black people were the victims. If you dissect it, you will find there were about 3,700 free blacks who owned 12,000 slaves, black slaves. The question is, do the
misinformed information? I'm telling y'all, man, this shit deep when you got your own kind, man, working against you. That's some deep shit.
Descendants of those free blacks who owned black slaves, do they pay? Blacks really benefited more the first 100 years after slavery we have in the last 50 years. I was born in 1937 during the Depression. Everyone in my small, low-income black community, 98% of the households had a man and a woman raising children. Elderly people could walk safely in that community without fear of being assaulted by their grandchildren. Never heard a gunfire during that time. Never heard of a child being...
Negro, what are you talking about? We talking about what happened to our people. Negro, what is you talking about? These are the Negroes. These are the gatekeepers, y'all. These are the fucking gatekeepers. These are the black Masons. I bet if you look up this nigga, he's a Mason. And I hate to put the Masons out there, but this is about black liberation. I hate to put the Masons out there. This is about African liberation. Black man, if you're not a Mason that's down with the skull and bones and down being a gatekeeper, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to that gatekeeper. These are the Negroes, man. They put in position. These are the Negroes that they pay, man. They pay these niggas. This is a maggot. He eat the shit of the white man. This is a maggot. Eat the shit of the white man. Facts.
Shot to death in the crib without fear of being assaulted by their grandchildren. Never heard a gunfire during that time. Never heard of a child being shot to death in the crib. But there are 50 children today who have been shot and killed in our cities. If you talk about remedies, we've got to look beyond saying that every solution has to have a winner and a loser. That blacks can only benefit if whites lose. We have to.
Black people been losing in this country since we've been here. What is this Negro talking about? Does he make any sense? Cut that check and quit trying to make excuse for white abuse, Negro. We hip to you, step and fetch it, Negroes. I'm 57. I've been around, nigga. I'll be 57 this year, nigga. I seen you Negroes. I seen you Jesse Jackson Negroes for years. I seen you skinny neck, Al Sharpton niggas for years. You know what I'm saying? I've been watching the NAACP for years. You niggas don't do shit. You tap dancing ass niggas. You don't dance to the funk. You dance to this bitch ass drill music. Most of these Negroes love that drill music, that new rap music. You know what I'm saying? When they don't talk about revolution no more, when they scared to speak against the white supremacists. These Negroes right here love that type music. That's the only rap they like. Look at that nigga. That nigga's a maggot. He eat the shit of the white man. He eat the shit of the white man. Most of you Negroes who make excuse for white abuse, you would eat the shit of the white man. You a maggot. You would kill your brother and sister for the white man. You a maggot. You a maggot.
To be defined more than just victims of oppression. When a winner and a loser. That blacks can only benefit if whites lose. We have to be defined more than just victims of oppression. When whites were at their worst, blacks were at their best. When we were denied access to hotels, we built our own. We have to communicate to our people the history of how they achieved in the face of oppression. But if we continue to sit back and say all of the challenges that we face in out of wedlock births of violence, that somehow the control.
Man, what do out of wedlock got to do with reparations? These are the niggas, man. I'm done with this nigga, man. We going to the next person that was talking some real live history, some real live facts. These niggas right here, we done talking to these niggas. When we hear niggas talk like this, we look past these niggas. Kansas Owens, Tim Scott, any nigga who speak up for white supremacy, you are retarded. We looking past your ass. Your ass don't count. Shut the fuck up. We done with this nigga. We done with this Negro. This nigga been eating shit. This nigga almost 80, man. He got to be 80. This nigga been eating shit for about 6 centuries. I mean, 6. Hey, he been eating shit by about 6 decades, y'all. I'm about to say 6 centuries, but about 6 decades for real. He been eating shit for about 60 years of the white man's shit. I know his breath stank like pure sewage. Garbage disposed ass mouth. He been eating white shit for years. This a maggot, man. This a maggot. He a fly now, nigga. A big ass fly. It's a maggot, man. A maggot with wings now. You feel me? We done with him. We done with him.
About whether reparations should be given to Black Americans for the horrible crimes their enslaved ancestors suffered. I'd like to now introduce Ashame Infoko, anti-racist educator and activist, and welcome her into this conversation. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let me let you add to the conversation based on what you've heard so far.
I think that there cannot be healing without reparations. There cannot be reconciliation without reparations. People talk about unity. We need to come together. We need to focus on what brings us together, not what divides us. Reparations is a part of what can bring us together and bring the healing that we need in our country.
And how do reparations begin to foster that?
I think reparations is, first of all, an acknowledgement. This was wrong, this happened, and not only did it happen, because it wasn't just a one-time thing. It's a lineage, it's a legacy that has continued, it has transformed, it never stopped. And I think that's what people missed when George Floyd was murdered. Everybody kind of woke up like, oh my God, what just happened? And we're like, what do you mean? It's been happening. Where have you been, right?
Exactly. You feel what I'm saying? We had to bring a little bit of sincere people on this show. I'm glad that Dr. Phil did bring someone that could counter the racism of this show. You feel what I'm saying? This sister right here is on point. I know I pronounced her name wrong, but she on point, y'all. She on point. Let's proceed.
It never stopped. And I think that's what people missed when George Floyd was murdered. Everybody kind of woke up like, oh my God, what just happened? And we're like, what do you mean? It's been happening. Where have you been, right? So it's a continuation that started there, but it's continued on. So reparations is an acknowledgement that something needs to happen to begin to repair the damage that has been done.
I have people asking me, is there any response that America could give right now to stop this?
To stop what?
The riots and the demonstrations.
See, I think that's...
The riots and the demonstrations. I want y'all to listen to how racist Dr. Phil is. This is the same dude who got famous and got his start from Oprah. Oprah, slave, Oprah Winfrey. Aunt your mama. Good biscuit eating ass Oprah. You feel what I'm saying? Check this dude out, though. Check how narrow-minded the average white person is in this country, especially white people who got riches and don't want to see black people with no riches. You feel what I'm saying? I'm breaking these fools off tonight.
The problem is too little.
that America could give right now to stop this?
To stop what?
The riots and the demonstrations.
See, I think that's the problem. It's too little too late. We want to respond. We need to be proactive. And reparations is about being proactive. We've had so much time to figure this out, but nothing has ever been done. So what does that tell you? There's a disconnect that's there. And again,
what that tell you? That white America hates black people. You can see it with the Haitians. When the Haitians try to come over here, they hate the Haitians. They send the Haitians right back to murderous situations. They send the Haitians right back to murderous situations. Somebody on the island gonna kill that particular individual when they get back to Haiti. They let the Afghans in, the Palestinians in. You feel what I'm saying? The Ukrainians. They send the Ukrainian money, weapons, and won't take care of the black people in this country, the people they owe. If it wasn't for black people, America wouldn't be. If it wasn't for African culture, America wouldn't have no culture. And this is how the voters pay us. No attention. Cut my check. Ain't no way out of it. Cut my check. Cut my check. We see the benefits that white America has because of slavery. Cut that check. That's what you do. Cut my check.
Education. People don't even know the history. They don't even know what it is. So they can't connect it to what's happening today. And that's the problem. That's what we have to say. Reparations are something that we need to talk about. And people are like, what do you mean? Well, why is that? Because you don't know the history and you never got the education.
So there's no acceptable response, reaction in the short term. But what is it in the long term?
It's everything. It's hitting every area that has been touched by systemic racism. We're talking about housing discrimination. We're talking about financially. We're talking about in healthcare. The maternal mortality rate for Black women is higher than any other group. Everything that's been touched by it in our society, which has basically been embedded into the fabric of our society, it has to be addressed in every single area. It's not just a check. That's just like the beginning.
Oh yeah, fam. This next guest is the Duke University economic professor, William Darity. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but he about to be up next, right? Now, he go all in, and you know, he spitting that prominent information. You can tell he did some deep, in-depth research. You feel what I'm saying? You know, his whole analysis is on a higher intellect level, you know, without any bias, you know, towards the people. And you can tell this brother real educated. So let's get off into the video. You feel what I'm saying? Let's proceed.
Please welcome the Samuel Dubois Professor of Public Policy and Economics at Duke University, Professor William Darity, the author of From Here to Equality, Reparations for Black Americans in the 21st Century. Professor, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. You know, there are many thoughts, Professor, on reparations and how they should be handled. So what are the high points of your proposed plan?
The first condition is that reparations should be paid to Black Americans whose ancestors were enslaved in the United States. The second is how much should be paid. And the amount should be dictated by the disparity in wealth between Black and white Americans, which at the current moment amounts to in excess of $840,000 per household.
What is the range that you would propose to pay?
So my objective, and the objective that Kirsten and I describe in our book, is to eliminate the racial wealth gap in the United States. And this would require an expenditure of $14 trillion, which would be distributed evenly across the 40 million Black American descendants of U.S. slavery.
See, They don't want black people to have money, y'all. Because black money put black people on the economic playing field with its oppressors. You have to have a bloodsucker in this world. This is what capitalism all about. I know I curse on here and I speak a particular way, but I try to, catch a certain type of people. My people that's on the streets that need this medicine that I'm giving. So excuse me the way, my logistics come off, sometimes my language, you know what I'm saying? But I do know economically put you on the playing field with the so-called ruling class. The ruling class has to have a populace it can suck blood from. That's how elites survive. You feel what I'm saying? But the leech is on her way out. That's for another video. And I'm glad to be living in the time when the leech is about to die. You feel what I'm saying? Bruh, let's proceed. This brother right here on point. This brother right here is an educational brother. This ain't a brother off the street like me. This is a brother from Duke University, a professor. Duke ain't gonna have no fool teaching economics. You feel what I'm saying? Let's proceed.
That would be approximately $14 trillion, which would be, and I describe in our book, is to eliminate the racial wealth gap in the United States. And this would require an expenditure of $14 trillion, which would be distributed evenly across the 40 million Black American descendants of U.S. slavery. That would be approximately $350,000 per person.
And where would that money come from? Where would that money come from?
Money would be paid by the federal government. And it would be paid by the federal government in the same way in which the federal government has met the expenses that were paid out for the purposes of trying to deal with the Great Recession, and also most recently with the economic downturn associated with the Great Pandemic.
They could print that money. They could print that money. That's right. They could print that money. They could print that money. They could print that money. They can print that money.
And it would be paid by the federal government in the same way in which the federal government has met the expenses that were paid out for the purposes of trying to deal with the Great Recession, and also most recently with the economic downturn associated with the Great Pandemic.
First of all, the U.S. government doesn't have money. All of their money comes from taxes. So to say you're not going to take it from people today, you're right.
You see, all you multi-culture Negroes, you want to love on the white folk and think with black people like me speak the truth that we hate white folks because they white. We don't hate white folks. We just tell the truth about white folks. I don't hate white folks. I'm going to tell the truth about white folks. You feel what I'm saying? I'm going to tell the truth about black people, how we fucked up. I ride on everybody. I don't distinguish, but I know we fucked up because of these people. You can't tell me that I'm wrong. I'm 100% correct. If black people from Africa, if we have never ran into the white man, we would never be in the position that we in right now. This Caucasian Western world, was our downfall as a people. They got our shit. They got all the power. They got their power. How they get their power? At the fall of black people. When they went to Africa, they didn't find no motherfucker living in the jungle, wasn't rich, didn't have money. We was over there living lavish before they showed up with nothing. Before they came out the Caucasus Mountain. Before they came out the caves of fucking Europe. Now they got our shit. We want our shit back. Cut that motherfucking check. Cut that motherfucking check. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what this Neanderthal talking about right here. I'm going to let him speak. But I don't care what this Neanderthal say right here. He incorrect. Racist.
You're going to take it from future generations.
the great pandemic.
First of all, the U.S. government doesn't have money. All of their money comes from taxes.
They can print it.
So to say you're not going to take it from people today, you're right. You're going to take it from future generations. That's what's going to happen.
I cannot think of any group of people who have been made wealthy by just transferring money to them.
There has never been a point in the United States history where black and white incomes were equivalent. But I'm not talking about income anyway. I'm talking about the wealth disparity.
Right.
There is a substantial history of the United States government providing financial assets to white citizens.
Look at that! Look at that! Hey, did you see that Negro right there? That nigga right there. He got that shit face. You know, he wants some shit. He been eating the shit of the white man, so that nigga frowning up, man. And that Negro frowning up, man, like a motherfucker, man. And
there is a substantial history of the United States government providing financial assets.
Look at him.
To white
Look at that nigga, man. That nigga is sick.
When it did not provide similar assets to black citizens. Let's go back to the period in which there was a promise made of 40-acre land grants to black Americans. At the same time, when that promise was not fulfilled, the U.S. government gave 1.5 million white families in the United States 160-acre land grants in the Western Territories under the Homestead Act of 1860. That was a transfer that has resulted in a situation in which 45 million living white Americans are continuing to be beneficiaries of those land patents.
Okay, let me jump in. Let me jump in for a second.
Here come the racism. Here come the racism, because see, Dr. Phil wasn't talking like this at all. He was letting everybody have their peace. But when the truth starts speaking, here come the devilishment. Here come the devilishment. This is how white people feel, but you so-called multicultural Negroes. White people my friend. They'll never do me like that. Jack will never do me like that. They don't want your ass to have no money. Let you get more money than your friend Karen and your boyfriend Jack. Let you come into some money. See, money make motherfuckers act strange. Motherfuckers rearrange the game. When you broke, motherfuckers treat you different. They try to, overlook you. But when you got money, motherfuckers jealous of you. Motherfuckers will act funny towards you. When you get some money and see how motherfuckers act. Let's see how Jack act. Your white boyfriend Jack acts, sister, when you come into some money. You feel what I'm saying? And black people come into some money, I'm going to show you how resentful they be. Let that reparation check come in the mail or is put in your motherfucking bank account. And see how white folks, they don't want you to have nothing. They don't think you deserve nothing. They don't think you worthy enough. That's why we got to separate, you dumbass niggas. Listen to what Dr. Phil got to say. This how white folks think. You feel what I'm saying? He want to take over this show now. Because that brother came on there, the economic brother, came on there breaking it off.
5 million living white Americans are continuing to be beneficiaries of those land patents.
Okay, let me jump in. Let me jump in for a second here, because my name's on the wall everywhere.
See, my name is on the wall here everywhere. See that? See how arrogant? We know it's your show, Dr. Phil. Your name on the wall. You just met a motherfucker that was smarter than you. See.
Okay, let me jump in. Let me jump in for a second here, because my name's on the wall everywhere. You're given a history lesson which is indisputable, Professor. Those are the facts. But I can tell you from a psychological perspective that if you take $350,000 or $840,000 and you write a check to any group of people, black, white, poor, homeless, whatever, you give any group of people that much money and say, there you go, best of luck,
and you come back in 6 months, they're going to be broke. So whatever reparations are done, that would be an absolute disaster, as opposed to guidance and help in creating generational wealth as opposed to income.
Right.
That would be an absolute disaster.
No one ever says that that there's going to be mismanagement of funds when we're talking about the distribution of reparations payments to other communities.
I just said it. I just said you give that money to anybody, they're going to mismanage it. They're going to blow it. Look at the fraud that just occurred with all of the money that was given in support of COVID. Okay, now.
See how Dr. Phil tried to smoke screen the whole situation. He's really talking about black people don't deserve money. It'll be a disaster. He tried to smoke screen it by using other races. The brother was right. The economic brother was right. The economist was right. They cut the brother off. You feel what I'm saying? When truth was being spoken, they always try to cut the root of the truth off. You feel what I'm saying? Hey, this is Underground Warrior TV. Make sure y'all mash up the likes, share this video. Peace and black power. Peace and black power. Peace and black power.